I just got out of the biggest period of depression that I've had in my life. It was the longest, darkest, deepest depressive episode that I've experienced, but I was able to get out of it, pull myself out of it with the help of friends, exercise, and some mindset shifts that I wanted to share with you today. But I didn't escape without scars. I think I've learned a lot of lessons from that time, some of which I'll be sharing. And I want to talk about like what I did before it happened, when it happened, and after it happened. So, what I'm doing currently to kind of get myself in a maintenance state to not go back there. And so hi, I'm Melissa Hussong. I am a business coach, a motorcyclist. I'm also a general empower of women. So that's why I'm sharing my story today. I share my story and my voice with vulnerability. On this podcast, I also share interviews with amazing women business owners. And I hope that it helps you find more freedom in your life. And that's why I'm here. I'm always in the constant pursuit of freedom. Okay, so my depressive episode lasted from approximately May to the end of June. Most of it. I was trying to go back through messages and find like the day that it was triggered or the day that I went into it. But it seems like for me, depression hasn't really gone like you flip a switch and it happens. It's like a very slow, gradual descent into the darkness, into the shadow. And the point where I knew that I had a problem that and it was something that I needed to come out of. This was really the wake up call for me was when I looked down at my 9-month-old baby and he was smiling at me and maybe giggling and I just had no feeling, no emotion, just felt really dead inside, and that is not something that I've ever felt looking at him, obviously. But by that point, I was already deep in it, but I just was kind of like had normalized like, oh, I'm just in a bad mood or I'm just not feeling it today. I'm a bit tired, bit exhausted, bit overloaded. But I was already really deep into it. But this was the specific turning point, and I knew that I needed to get help because I didn't want that to continue. I knew it wasn't normal for me, and I needed to reach out and get out of that state. So, how did we get here? So before it happened, I um how do you say? I think I just was so uh I don't know, I just felt like really downtrodden and like a lot of things weren't going my way. Had also had a couple of health things in the past. So um if you've listened before, you know that I rode motorcycles and my wrist had like a really bad injury to my right wrist several months ago. So I haven't been able to move my wrist backwards. Like if you're on the YouTube or watching the video, like this is how much I'm moving my wrist backwards right now. And if you know motorcycles, you know your right wrist is your throttle hand and you cannot ride if you cannot roll your hand back. So that's was quite depressing. I think that compounded it, but I don't know that anything particularly triggered it. I think it was just like a general melee that just kind of got worse and worse because I wasn't talking about it or sharing how I felt and doing anything about it. I wasn't doing anything about it because he's actually like the really crazy thing about depression that I hope I'm not alone in saying this because I've never said this out loud, but it's really hard to get help because in like a really dark, scary way, yeah, I kind of enjoy it. Like it's almost like this pain, this darkness, this isolation. You're like it feels good. And I don't know where that comes from. I've really tried to look at that thought many different ways. It's not the sense of like I deserve this, but it's just like kind of you just want to lean into the pain. I feel like I had like a fuller thought on that in my notes. So let me quick take a peek here. Um it's just something that when you're in it, when you're in the dark, when you're literally in a dark room all day and sleeping all day, you're just like, I just, this is just it for me. I know it's really fucked up, but I think that's like maybe been one of the reasons that I find it hard to reach out, other than the shame of it. The shame of it is another big one. So I want to talk about, yeah, so before this episode happened, I was focusing a lot on the things that I didn't have. I was like, I don't have time. I don't have a creative outlet. I literally don't have space to breathe. I just felt like really stifled, like a wet blanket had been thrown on my fire. But we know that the more that you focus on things, that's you get more of that in your life. So I was just kind of replaying these thoughts in my head, and that that singular focus on the negative in my life at the time like exponentially increased the intensity of it. And then when you focus on it more, it gets more intense. And then you focus on more and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time you're like getting crushed by this boulder of negative emotions and you don't know how you got here because you kind of forget that that's how thoughts work. So it was really intense. And like I said, there wasn't, anything specific that triggered it, I don't think. And that depressive episode, since it went for probably 2 months, like it was a while. I think it was a slow descent. It was like a slow, deep, dark descent into the dark. What did I do during this episode? I was, let me see here. Oh yes, I already made that point. It was a gradual decline. So during my depressive episode, I would wake up tired, deeply, deeply exhausted. I would want to sleep all day. I would want to be in a dark room all day and just napping. I physically don't know how I'm going to make it through this day. Like, I need to nap again. I was withdrawing socially, from this pattern of behavior in my life. I've noticed that when I withdraw socially, like something is wrong. If I'm not replying to messages, if I'm not reaching out to people, if I'm like literally just trying to become a hermit and not be around people, even my family, I'm like, that's a bit of a red flag because I just don't have the energy. I don't have any care factors. I don't have any fucks to like converse, to be around, to give any of myself because I'm just like deeply energy conserving to get through the day. And that piece of no energy, like the deep, deep, deep energy conserving thing for me, like I managed to trick myself at the time that it was like, I wasn't, being depressed or being lazy. I was just conserving energy. I was like, oh, I just don't have energy to do this today or like do my chores or do whatever. Like I need to save that energy for me. And I think that was maybe a little dangerous for me looking back because I was able to say, "Oh, I just don't have energy. I just don't have energy." When it was like, "No, Mel, there's more going on here. Like you not wanting to shower, you not wanting to eat, is more than just like not having energy for those basic human things that everyone does." I didn't even want to be around my kids. I was just like so irritable. I was just depressed as fuck. It actually really sucked. Um, I was avoidant of, personal admin activities. I didn't want to read my emails. I didn't want to check any notifications. I was just like in a hole somewhere trying to be alive. I was really overwhelmed. Even the smallest tasks that came up that was, I don't know, even remember anything, but, even the smallest personal admin things I couldn't handle. Even if I was like, oh, Mel, like you should maybe check in on this or do this or this. I was like, oh, no, like instant overwhelm, just like, oh, I cannot handle. My brain would just shut down. And that sucked. It really sucked. And I think when you avoid those things, it gets worse again because like what you are, focusing on you kind of focus on like, oh, I can't handle that right now. I can't handle that right now. So then you can't handle it. And then those issues get bigger and bigger because you're not attending to certain personal admin things that should be, or don't want to use the word should, but that, are usually top of the list. I would dip out of things, I just needed space. I just wanted to be alone. I was just like Irish goodbying my life. And that became a problem. Something that I did differently during this episode, possibly because it was like the longest, darkest one that I've been in before, was I started to write essays. And that was a weird thing for me. I never had been driven to write essays about things, but the the thing that I was trying to get out of that was like I really didn't understand what was happening or why I was feeling this way. So I thought, oh, maybe if I write down my feelings or what's going on or literally a day in my life right now, maybe I can understand this better or just develop a full thought about what is happening to me. And it was helpful, I think it it actually made me go even darker and deeper into it, which I was in the process of it. I was like, "Oh, I don't know that this is good," because you just like you're so in it when you're writing about something or like when you're creating art about something negative, you actually like relive it. And I was trying to write an essay, so I was making it, a bit more colorful and than I would just like normally writing anything. So you kind of relive it, which was really hard for me. But at the same time, I think it did ultimately help when I would like finish the essay and look at it and reread it and be like, oh, well, like at least something came out of this. This was like beneficial in some way. My life is on fire, but I put some sentences together and I had a thought and put that down on paper. The topics. I remember one essay that I really liked after writing it was something about just one particular day where I just had to leave the house, and then another one was about let me read you the title of it. I think I took a screenshot here. See if I can pull it up. So that essay that I wrote that I really enjoyed was called Hilary Duff and My Cathartic Crying. So literally just a story about sitting in my car crying, listening to Hilary Duff's new album, you guys. Like depressing. But I liked it. I enjoyed writing it, and it's interesting to put words together that you wouldn't normally put together and to kind of get back to your old school high school essay writing vibes. But at the time, I wasn't enjoying this necessarily. It was more of like, wow, the content of this is really bringing up some more shit that I'm not enjoying. The other essay that I started was social media left an existential void in my life. And I still really like that topic. I might come back to that one. That was going to be about how when you don't have social media on your phone, which I didn't at this time and I still don't, when you don't have social media in your life, you're actually faced with this really scary question of like, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? Because it gives you so much more time back in your day. It's really scary to sit in that and be like, oh my God, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? What am I going to do? What am I here for? Like, what is the point? And all those questions go through your mind when you're having a 2 month long depressive episode. So maybe it was a good thing that I didn't plumb the depths of that content. I was also just like kind of taking down notes of things that were depressing to me, but also beautiful to me, and kind of writing down half paragraphs here and there. Um, Here's another one. I don't remember this. What the fuck is the point in knowing what hairstyle suits my bone structure? or perfecting my skincare routine. What the fuck? That's that's in a moment how I felt. Oh, I sit in my car idling next to the camellia bushes, pouring out my inner world onto my iPad, interrogating my thoughts, integrating my emotions. Why the fuck am I doing this? So at least I was making art or putting words down on to my iPad to come back and read later. And I'm so glad I did because like I go back and I read that and I'm like, "Ooh, that was dark." But also I can string a sentence. So that's another positive. Something else I did towards the end of this depressive episode, which I'd never done before, is I scheduled an SOS meeting with my best friend. And it's probably when you're in something like this, it's probably one of the hardest things to actually tell someone. And I was like, oh, I think the whole situation of like my baby being cute and me not feeling anything about it was like the trigger that I was like, oh, text her. So I said something. Actually, I just wanted to read you what I texted her because um, even that, just like even articulating into a little text message of what the fuck am I gonna say? How do I say this? Or how do I request a emergency catch up session without our kids? Like we don't normally do that. So I was like, oh, what's the context? So I said on May 16 at 10:24 a.m. Are you around tomorrow morn? Can we get a coffee or breakfast? Feeling depressed and low this week and really missing the old days. That's a quote from me. It was a Saturday. And then within about 20 minutes, we had scheduled something for Sunday morning at like 7:30 a.m. We were just like, okay, let's go. Let's get this meeting on the calendar. So she dropped everything, to her credit, like besties. She dropped everything. She didn't bring the kids. I didn't bring the kids. It was just a one-on-one. And we had a meeting and we talked, and I'm so glad we did because that really triggered me sort of pulling myself out of it, and doing these other things I'm going to tell you in a second. And then so we hung out that immediately that next morning, first thing, like it was a 7:30 Sunday morning breakfast catch up with our children, like an hour away from both of our houses. So I'm talking about like if you're energy conserving, um that was like really big for me to just get myself out of bed and go and do all that. But I'm so eternally grateful that I did. So deeply grateful for my friend for showing up and responding to that SOS. At that catch up, we actually scheduled another catch up with for a couple days later for that following Wednesday. So I think it was important that it wasn't just like a one time, all right, cool, yep, shake me out of my funk and then I'll go back into it. It was like, okay, we're hanging out here. We're going to have a follow up meeting on the Wednesday, which we did. And that was really amazing. That's what I did during the episode. And now, so that messaging my friend really helped me kind of get on track for what I did to get out of it. So that brings me to like what I'm doing after that depressive episode to talk about, where am I at and how have my habits changed? What does my life look like now? What does my state look like now? So the first thing that I did make non-negotiable was walking on the treadmill, or I have a walking pad, I guess. And I do that non-negotiably, preferably 30 to 45 minutes a day. I prefer longer is better, but honestly, like if I get on there for 10 minutes and my children are like literally like pouring at my feet, if I have to get off after 10 minutes, like I'll do it and that's fine. Another thing that I did here to just make this something that was like in my face that I didn't forget about because it previously was in my office and I never looked at it. I never saw it because I just didn't come in here very often. But what I did was I moved it to my bedroom, in the corner of my bedroom, like at the foot of my bed. So I look at it every day. I put my sneakers there with my socks and my little workout pants and t-shirt. So like it's right there. Like I cannot forget about that. Literally have to step over it. And that has really helped to just as like a gentle reminder. It's when I look at that, I don't feel like shame of like, oh, I haven't done that today or I didn't do it as long as I want. I just go, oh, I got to do that today. Oh, I haven't done it yet. Okay, do it tonight. Oh, I still haven't done it. Okay, better do it before bed or something. So that's typically when I do it. I'll jump on after the kids go to bed for 30 to 45 minutes, but 10 is fine. 10 is good too. Something else I'm doing after the depressive episode is scheduling in social time and doing it weekly, making sure I'm hitting like a social engagement with friends or a play date so our kids can play and then we can chat, or like a coffee or a dinner or something with someone at some point during the week, and putting it on my calendar. Because someone said, if you schedule it, you do it, something along those lines. So I do put it on my Google Calendar, and that's great. When it's on my calendar, I won't forget. I set alarms. It's all there. The other thing, this one's really different for me after, is I've been telling people about my depressive episode. So I've actually been going like to my friends that I'm scheduling in these hangouts with, who weren't necessarily um that bestie that helped me in my SOS meeting, but these are other friends in my life that I will tell. And also the language of that conversation has been really important to me. So I won't just say something vague like I would have in the past. When people go, "Oh, how you been?" You go, "Oh yeah, oh I've been okay." Like, yeah, I'm all right. I say like, "Oh, things haven't been great. I felt quite depressed for a while there. I'm feeling better now, but this is how I felt at the time and this is what I'm doing differently." So literally I've kind of run through that little structure of convo with multiple people, but using the specific language of like, "Oh, I had a depressive episode and I feel better now and this is what I'm doing about it." And that has helped because people get it, women get it, mothers get it, but people do get it. And I find that it also helps me to use those words, and the more that I have talked about it and been like really explicit in that conversation, the more, I don't know, like you bring it out of the shadows and you bring it um I don't know, when you're casting light on something, the shadow goes away. And I also feel less shame when I talk about it. So I think maybe having that first convo with my bestie and then the subsequent convos, it's gotten easier. So now I just kind of like rattle it off the tongue, like it's fine. But I do think it helps for people to know sort of where you're at and how you felt and like what was going on and how you're doing now. Because if they're friends, they genuinely care about that. And also, it kind of destigmatizes this. So, like, maybe if I say that to a friend, they might feel comfortable saying, like, "Oh, fuck, I've been there too. It fucking sucks. Like, let's talk about it." Or they'll just be like, maybe offer a resource, or they'll just listen. Like, just to have like that kind ear where people just listen with kindness and patience and understanding has also been really helpful too. So it's helped me shake the shame around it. And I don't know, like maybe even recording this is maybe helping someone out there. Obviously, it's the point of what I do here, but it's vulnerable. Like those conversations are vulnerable, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. I think people can relate. So definitely, that was something new that I did that I hadn't done before that really, really helped. Another thing I did, I'd been seeing my doctor about my wrist that wasn't bending back. And just in like a random follow-up meeting, I was like, "Oh, like I've had really low energy." I didn't say I'd been feeling depressed, but I was like, "I've had really low energy. Like I wake up and I literally cannot get out of bed. Like I wake up and think, how am I going to make it through the day? Blah, blah, blah. Just want to sleep all day. Just want to be in a dark room." And so she sent me for a blood test. We got the blood test results back. And that was just very enlightening. And I think something that I'm going to do annually is just check in on my bloods and see what they're doing and see, like, actually, is there something else going on underneath all of this that my body is responding to? I don't know. So we're still working through those results. It was more of a not like a depression thing that came up, but something else that I might talk about soon. But working through those, but even just kind of saying like, "Hey, I've had low energy," to a medical professional um, was helpful. I have never talked to a doctor about like, oh, I'm feeling depressed. I've seen a therapist about certain things, but I've never talked to a medical doctor just because, like, I don't know, I don't want that. I don't want a diagnosis. I don't want a clinical diagnosis. I've had experiences with those in the past, and also, like, I know for sure I died in a past life as a witch and was persecuted for that. So I'm like, I don't want to give them anything to come back at me with. Um, and then if it's not like a full diagnosis, I feel like I can um I'm troubleshooting. I'm doing my own thing, but I am open to medical intervention, possibly. But for now, I'm really happy with where I'm at. But anyway, see a doctor if you need to. The other thing that I'm doing afterwards, actually, this is very meta. I'm turning that experience into art again, and I'm sharing my story with you. Didn't think that I would do this at the time because it was not even on my radar. I was like, fuck the podcast. I don't have energy for that. Don't have energy for anything. But here I am again. I'm turning that and sharing my story with you. So that's something different. I haven't ever really told anyone about these things that happened to me. I'm focusing on my health in a new way that is expanding and challenging my old diet and my old beliefs. I was almost exclusively like a protein girl in my pregnancy and postpartum because I had gestational diabetes. That was a diagnosis that I didn't like, but that's what they said I had. So I was like almost exclusively protein babe for a long time. Protein plus pregnancy plus postpartum. That was a long time. So now I'm focusing on like alkalizing my body. I'm eating way more veg. I'm drinking way more water. I'm like, maybe my body just wasn't getting some things. The other thing that I'm doing after this episode is I'm putting my kids in like these half day creche. It's like a daycare locally. I know all the women and it's very small, but just those half days, 2 days a week gives me time to focus on myself, to kind of focus on my mental health, to focus on the podcast and that creative outlet that I felt that fire was being like stifled. And it's not the kid's fault. That's really totally on me for not doing this or figuring this out sooner. But that's something else that I'm doing after the depressive episode. So I think here's the thing about feeling having these depressive episodes is I think that dark side has always been inside of me. And that even saying that reminds me of a I was doing a workshop at this conference a couple of years ago, and we were crushing it, standing room only. And some at the end of, we I went through the whole presentation, and at the end of it, we were taking questions, and someone says, "You seem so positive, and like, have you ever felt a time where you don't feel positive or like you don't feel like you can do things?" And I remember just on the spot thinking of an answer, and it wasn't, I don't know if it was a good answer, but it's just like the first thing that popped to my head was like, yeah, you might see the positivity here because like this is a prepped workshop. And, I personally work very hard to stay in that state and that frame of mind. But I think the lightness that you have in yourself, in how you carry yourself, in your soul, in your spirit, is like equally proportional to the darkness that you also have. And I think you develop the light because the dark is so heavy. And I think that's what's happening with me. Like, I have to work really hard to stay on top of the darkness. And maybe like I project that positivity because I'm trying so hard to stay on top of it and keep the dark or keep the shadows at bay. And that was just a thought. I think your lightness is maybe the equal proportion of your darkness. because you have the darkness, and maybe we all have it. It's like kind of like the angel and the devil on your shoulder that you're always trying to be like, no, devil, amplify the angel, put the devil away, take the devil off your shoulder. Um, and the worst part about having these like depressive episodes is that, like I said, a part of me wants to stay there because it feels good in like a really fucked up way. I don't know why. But I'm super glad the part of me that takes the initiative to make the change and to text my friend and to do all these things to stay out of that. I'm super glad that part of me is stronger than the part of me that wants to stay depressed. I don't know why it is, but it is. Um, and I'm really determined to develop that part even more, make it better, make it stronger, and not go back to the place where I was at for that last depressive episode that was the longest, deepest, darkest hole that I'd been in. So, in summary, I don't know if you ever overcome these sorts of things, but I think I did certain things at the time to kind of get myself out of it, to get in that maintenance state of like, okay, no, this is where I'm at now. No, Mel, we're not going back to that. You know, getting exercise so I feel better, so my body's moving, so my energy's moving to prevent that moving forward. And I think that's where I'm at right now is just like deeply in the maintenance state, recommitting to my health, my wealth, my wealth. That's not what I meant to say, just rhymes with health. No, I meant to say well-being, committed to my health and well-being. Maybe my wealth, I don't know. But those are some things that really helped me, and I'm glad that I'm here to share this story. I'm glad that I have my energy back, that I have my mojo back to share this with you today. In the comments or Instagram me, my handle is at Melissa Hussong. Let me know like your favorite tools or strategies to get out of a depressive state. And let's just share the knowledge. I shared a couple with you, but I'm really curious like, what do you do if you're ever in that? What has helped you? Is it talking to people? Is it working out? Is it eating better? Is it watching movies? Like comedy is also very helpful. That's not something that I super leaned into during this one, but I think comedy is good too. So if that's one for you, let me know what you're watching or anything on the internet that's making you giggle. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Have a good one. Thanks for letting me share this. All right, I love you. Bye.